Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. For everybody. Oh, there you go. Perfect. We'll go ahead and get started. My name's Rebecca Wormleighton. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting, I am co-founder here at Zendelity. We're a local Canada North company. We have a long history with Mitel, and I'm excited to introduce ourselves and explore where we could go and work together. I'd love to keep this interactive, so please, if you have questions, let's chat amongst us and go from there. So for those of you who may or may not be aware, I'm not sure how much the Mitel Unified Communications Accelerator program has been communicated to everybody, but this was a program that was introduced late this summer, and there was, from what I understand, over 400 different companies applied. And that was drummed down to 14, and then there was a pitch competition, and we brought that number down to 7 people. So that was exciting to be included in part of that. And the whole idea with this program is to bring additional applications that can integrate from a voice perspective and extend more value to Mitel clients with purpose-built applications. So what my objective is to do today is to really demonstrate to everybody on this call how a partnership with Zendelity and bringing together with Mitel, how we can help you expand your reach into the deskless or frontline workers that have traditionally been largely untapped from a voice perspective. How we can enable you to stand out from the competition on 2 levels. So one, I think from a frontline application perspective, traditionally voice hasn't been included. So this is an opportunity to differentiate to those existing clients that you have. And then from the frontline operations perspective, our ability to integrate voice into our solution also creates a competitive advantage, as we can provide an all-in-one frontline applications operations solution. And then finally, really demonstrate to everybody how we can help you build stickier accounts. This is a solution that's got the flexibility to work across all frontline teams, across a whole variety of use cases, really helping to solidify our relationship with within those existing accounts and pull more value. The founding team at Zendelity is Dave McCready and myself. Combined, we've got over 50 years experience working both with Mitel technology as well as Mitel channel partners. So myself, Rebecca Wormleighton, I actually started my career very young at Mitel, responsible for what was then the Prairie Fire relationship in conjunction with Todd Simons and, of course, Chris Cornier. I then returned to Mitel in 2015-27 to lead their enterprise product marketing strategy. So I have a strong background in customer experience, of course, voice and hospitality. And then we have Dave McCready. As some of you may remember him, Dave led custom development at Mitel for many years, actually working with Jerry. And then worked as part of the office of the CTO and was really responsible for developing many of Mitel's early applications. Think 6160 IQ, Agent Portal, 6140 Screen Pop, 911 ER Advisor. So again, has a tremendous amount of in-depth experience in working with Mitel technology, developing it to deliver value for the customers. I think his motto always used to be, forget about the technology, what are you trying to accomplish? And that's really how we've approached today's solution as part of that. So what have we created? We have created, and really, as I said, an end-to-end frontline deskless worker operations management platform. Our goal is to give visibility into those frontline operations, ensure that the work that they're doing is reliable and auditable, which is seeing huge significance since post-COVID. Really, the way organizations are looking at their frontline workers is changing and evolving, and they're looking for the same level of reliability and auditability that you would get, for example, in your call center environments. So bring that forward. So the solution that we're going to take you through today is really ideal when your scale is large. You've got a tremendous amount of frontline workers that are responsible for ensuring a smooth operation, where the margin for error is small. If something goes wrong, if they don't do their job, then seconds matter and liabilities run deep. And finally, where the data must be auditable. When you think of health and safety and fire code and manning our frontline operations, if the activities of those workers is not documented, it literally didn't happen. So let's give them audit-proof data to give us confidence that everything's being done to ensure smooth and safe operations. As part of the Unified Communications Accelerator program, our objective is to embed a SIP soft phone into our application, again, providing that all-in-one management system. And we feel that this is really important for a variety of reasons. One, it really extends our reach from a voice perspective and provides a single source of communications for all employees, including those on the front lines. It enables your clients to maybe save on cellular fees rather than and leverage Wi-Fi. It allows us to simplify communications to our frontline teams. We don't need to have um, uh, address books full of cell phone numbers and the like. We can leverage the core capabilities of the Mitel platform in order to reach all of our employees. And then, it allows us to take what is a purpose-built application designed for those frontline teams and extend it from today, what is SMS and email support, including voice. So who are we targeting? Who are we looking at as part of this solution? And it's really, as I said, the deskless workforce. So this is our teachers, our custodians, all of those people that are responsible for running our facilities, ensuring it's smooth and safe, that we're safe when we're visiting and we're on premise. This is a portion of the global workforce that represents 70 to 80%. So this is a large untapped market that really up until now has been left to their own devices. The reality is that these individuals 100% of the time in the work that they're doing ultimately touches or can touch the customers and that customer experience. And I think what's really most important for all of us to take away is this is a group of people that really still require real-time communications. If I'm in a situation, I can't send an email or send a text. I need to talk to somebody immediately. So bringing voice into the fold of what we're doing just makes logical sense for everybody involved. There was a report that came out in 2023 called the Deskless Report, and it looked at some of the top challenges from a corporate leader's perspective and the frontline managers of those teams. And what are their biggest, highest ranking challenges that they're facing in managing these deskless workers? And when you start to look and go through each one of these things, one thing you'll take away is that 73% of the time, the challenges that these people are facing as it relates to the largest workforce that they're trying to manage can be directly tied to the human factor, as I call it, right? Employees making a mistake or the way in which we're managing those employees today. This is an opportunity to revolutionize how we're managing those frontline teams, and for us to bring voice to the forefront of that. So what do we provide? In essence, it's really simple. Our goal with our solution is to help ensure that all frontline workers or deskless workers, that the right people are in the right place at the right time, that they're following the right procedures, and that those procedures are being actioned based on the right policies that make sense for the situation. I like to very much often attribute this very closely to call centers. It's the same kind of thing. It's about making sure that rather than the right call, getting to the right person to provide that superior customer service, this is about the right people being in the right place, doing the right thing, and we can monitor and manage all of that in real time. What makes us distinct from any other technology that you might see in the marketplace today is, we've really designed this solution to be flexible. So this is an opportunity to work across multiple verticals, across multiple departments, and allows those customers to really leverage their existing philosophies and just transform it. We can allow facilities and operations managers to manage by exception, manage rather than having to look through paperwork and digital forms. We can be alerted in real time when there's something wrong, so we can take immediate corrective action. Of course, the integration of that voice, all of the other applications that are built for our frontline teams don't include the voice component. So our ability to bring that in and offer a total solution is unique. Our data, all of our data that comes and is created as part of this solution is normalized, it's audit proof, it's structured, it's ready for analysis. So when you think of, the future of AI that we all talk about, we can't apply AI to the data that's in our filing cabinet. And most of the data that we're collecting today for the front lines is in filing cabinets. So let's expose that data and open up the world of AI to our operations and our front lines. And finally, this is a do-it-yourself, no-code solution. So we don't need to go out and hire computer engineers. This has been designed to be super easy to use and to work and adapt with existing customers and what they need. So we talked, first of all, does anybody have any questions before I continue?
Does this tool work in healthcare for like nursing staff and maintenance people, things like that?
Absolutely, 100%. And in fact, that's what one of the use case that we're exploring right now is in seniors care and really the PSW side of things. Making sure that the right people are caring for the residents, and then of course having the data to prove and demonstrate that we provided the level of care that we committed to our clients. So yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
No problem. So we've talked a little bit about who we are. I want to, take this next little bit and really start to dig into, tell you a little bit who my Zendelity is as an organization. I think, and where we are today. We are trusted by many enterprise clients. We're deployed on, we've got technology deployed on over 36 different cruise ships and a variety of other systems. And I really want to demonstrate to you how we can expand that reach into this untapped workforce so that we can offer upsell and cross-sell opportunity. I think that what is beautiful about this solution is you can take it today and go out to your existing clients and expand that conversation that you're having around voice and emergency communications and expand it today to make it easier and faster. And then, as I said, really look at how we can help you differentiate to drive more incremental revenue for yourselves. So as I mentioned, we have technology deployed on 36 cruise ships. We're currently integrating the property management system on the cruise ships with My Voice Business. We've integrated the ship's safety management system, IoT sensors for broadcast messaging. We're really proud of our track record. We're 99% uptime. As Tony Smith, the head of cruise for Mitel, likes to say, that our technology that we're bringing forward offers rock solid stability, and we're exceptionally responsive. We understand what we need. We understand that voice communications is critical, and we're here to support you along the way. One of our earliest customers that we have been working with from the get-go is Carleton University, where they're using our technology in order to ensure compliance with the fire code. So what's fabulous about this is when they started working with us, they were seeing about 10% of their fire extinguishers were deficient on any given month. Now, leveraging our technology, we've seen that drop to 0.47%. So that's a 96% improvement in the quality of their fire prevention program. And what's really important to understand is we're not changing what the employee does. They still need to go and put eyes on or complete the physical task that's done. But simply by changing how we're measuring and managing compliance, we have an opportunity to really revolutionize those front lines and bring value. So Todd, when you go talk about, healthcare, imagine we could say, we're going to improve the quality of the services provided by the PSWs or in maintenance by 96%. What is that going to do to our, to their family members and confidence in those healthcare providers? So I think it's a great opportunity to differentiate. When it really comes down to it, at the end of the day, when you look across businesses today and in those frontline areas, businesses have invested an incredible amount of time and resources in defining procedures that everything needs to be done across health and safety, fire code, brand standards, insurance requirements, and the like. The details are documented. We've got maybe some smart equipment in place where we've got IoT sensors, where we've got alerts coming from systems. But the reality is the difference between success and failure really comes down to those frontline workers and them doing exactly what was outlined as part of their requirements. And that's where we play. We want to give that 96% confidence to everything those frontline workers are doing, so that we can ensure that their investment in their time and resources, that we're, getting what we paid for. Our solution is really quite simple in nature in the way it works. We've worked on the concept of work plans. So you can have any number of work plans that you want. So for example, monthly fire extinguisher inspections, cleaning procedures, PSW care requirements, any maintenance requirements. So you can create any number of work plans. For any work plan, you can create any number of work items. So with our work items, we associate a near field communications tag, so that we can directly associate the procedures with a specific asset or location across the facility that we're managing compliance against. And then for any work item, we can have any number of tasks that we want to collect the data on to ensure that people are following the right procedures, that they're collecting the right data that we need for compliance. And all of that is done at your fingertips. And I think what's beautiful about this is they don't need to learn a new technology in order to take advantage of this. We simply take what they're doing today, and we digitally transform it. I used to remember back when I was working with the call center technology at Mitel, and you were competing with somebody who was using Avaya, and you needed to talk different languages based on what we're doing today, right? So this solution makes it very, very easy to implement and start delivering value to your customers. So to put that in perspective and kind of give you a quick glimpse of what that looks like is, so leveraging our technology, whether it's an IoT sensor such as a leak moisture sensor, or it's scheduled operating procedures through the commands Zendelity platform, we start by sending out real-time notifications. So first and foremost, to the individual who needs to complete the procedures so they know exactly what they need to do based on the date, time, or alert received. We can send real-time notifications to the manager's dashboard so they can see exactly what their employees are doing, where they are, and where they are in progressing that. And finally, we can send notifications or alerts via email, SMS, and now with our integration with Mitel via voice. And now as the employee follows those procedures and completes those tasks at hand, we can then follow up and provide both real-time status updates to our dashboard, as well as to anyone who needs to know. Right. So we really do go from an alert, which is only delivers, if you think of an IoT sensor, the value is only derived from that investment in that IoT sensor if we action the alert and we complete all the procedures that are necessary. This is a solution to make sure that all of that happens. And then when the regulators arrive, to simply pull up a report to see exactly who did what, when, where, and what. And everything is date and time and is user stamped. So not only as part of this can we incorporate voice broadcasts, so think of an emergency management, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but we can also leverage our mobile application, as I said, as an extension off the PBX, making it simpler, easier, and faster to communicate with those employees, to fix any issues that we have at hand, and to ensure smooth operation. When you think of the return on investments for your clients, for your customers, again, this is not a discussion about having your customers changing what they're doing today. This is a discussion about simply changing how we're measuring and managing compliance. And if we do that, we have an opportunity to bring value to your clients across the board, from the front lines to management, right up to corporate. From the front lines, this is about empowering employees, make it simple and easy to understand exactly what they need to do, making them feel confident that when they report issues, they're actually getting actioned and fixed. Management is an opportunity to help them reduce their operating costs by improving efficiency, making sure they're getting what they paid for, whether it's from third-party service providers or whoever is doing the work. And then finally, from a corporate perspective, this is about building loyalty and your reputation with your clients, because you're going to offer consistent service when customers are on site, and helps you protect your capital investments by making sure that all the work that needs to be done associated with those investments is completed as we go. So we talked a bit about in the beginning about where do we play the biggest value, or where's the biggest opportunity. And it's really where, as I said, the work that's being completed is mission critical. This is a high stakes environment and we're really reliant upon human behavior. So where would some of those opportunities be? So emergency prevention and response. 98% of schools are actively completing drills for emergency response for lockdown, because we understand that the biggest risk is somebody making a mistake during those procedures. So we've got to practice, we've got to ensure consistency, and then we're getting it done. You've got your critical infrastructure, some 80% of aviation accidents, or 75 to 96% of marine accidents, are directly tied to human error. People making mistakes and not following the procedures as was outlined. This is an opportunity to address that head on. We've got food and safety manufacturing. Today, if you look at food and beverage manufacturing, it is still being managed, compliance with those procedures, making sure we get the ingredients is right, making sure we're cleaning the equipment right, is still done on paper. And when you look at it, 56% of recalls can be directly linked to somebody on the line making a mistake. And those recalls can cost upwards of $50 million. So this is high value areas. When employees make a mistake, it's going to have a direct impact on the bottom line, or long-term care, or seniors care, right? Where again, we're relying on people going out and making their jobs. And when you actually look at the data, people falling, people getting hurt, many of those were preventable. And by preventable, we mean somebody made a mistake, they weren't in the right location at the right time, and things happened. So unless anybody has any questions, I wanted to quickly walk everybody through one example. And I chose today to focus on emergency prevention and response, because I know that's an area as a team we're active, as Mitel channel partners, we're actively involved. So does anybody have any questions before I jump into this use case? Okay. So I chose to go. I don't know if anybody on this call has heard, but this is a foundation. I love you guys. It's a foundation out of the US. It was actually, unfortunately, it was two parents who lost their daughter to a school shooting. And so they have set out on a mission in order to ensure consistency across emergency management, specifically in schools, but they apply this to office buildings, to large campuses and the like. And I think one of their most important takeaways from that is that human error, like people have problems completing even the most routine tasks during an emergency. So how can we remove that uncertainty in the chaos? And this is where we come in. So I love you guys, and many associations really look at emergency management as, it's an end-to-end process that's continually growing and evolving. It starts with prevention and preparedness. We then go into alerts and notifications, letting everybody know that there is an emergency. Then how do we respond and execute to ensure consistency, to ensure fast action? And then what happens after the emergency? And then, of course, finally, how do we review and improve? Because there's always opportunity to improve. So if we look at emergency management today, and the way it's currently functioning, all of the prevention activities that are done, drills and the like, are often completed on paper. Response plans and those emergency preparedness procedures that we've so painstakingly put in place are sitting in somebody's desk on a binder, in a binder. Staff who maybe weren't there for the drills or not quite clear on actually what the drills are specific to that location that they're maybe in. The technology is largely limited to a one-way broadcast message out to everybody who needs to be aware. But what happens after that broadcast until the close of the emergency is often lost or is a blind spot. No visibility into the emergency as it's unfolding. There's no records of exactly who did what. So if we want to clear that, if we want to understand what actually happened so that we can fix and improve, that it's difficult. And, decision makers and responders are often going into the emergency blind because, after that broadcast message, they have no idea what's actually going on and where they stay. So now if we take that same emergency management preparedness and put Mitel and Zendelity at the center of that, what do we get? How can we change that experience so that we can reduce risk, ensure fast execution? So it all starts with prevention and preparedness, as we talked about. If we look at the example of Carleton University, we've been able to digitally transform all of their prevention procedures so that we can ensure that everybody's doing them so that they can be accurate, so we know the safety assets and the people are prepared as required. So we start there. And then, of course, it's time when an emergency happens, an alert or notification goes off. So whether you're using Mitel Revolution or our capabilities, such as what we're doing with the cruise ships, right? The key is that we want to notify all of the right players as to, one, what is the emergency so they can go in and start to execute. Which is where we come in from a response and execution perspective. So leveraging our tool, we can build work plans specific to the different audiences on the team who need to execute specific procedures, whether it's the custodian who needs to lock the various doors and shut down areas, to the office staff calling 911, or the teachers locking down their individual classrooms. This walks them through exactly what they need to do so that in the midst of the chaos, we're not confused, we're not making mistakes that could result in harm or error. And now when the emergency responders arrive on site, we can provide real-time visibility into exactly where we are with those, in this case, lockdown procedures, what classrooms have locked down, where are people missing, what's going on. So all of that information is at our fingertips, so we know exactly what we need to do to best respond to that situation. And then, as I said, as part of our involvement with the Mitel Communications Accelerator Program, we'll be integrating a soft phone so that we can directly reach those employees if required, as well as we're adding in the ability to provide silent situational updates. So, for example, if the teacher's in a classroom and they hear gunshots in their wing, they can provide updates. So really providing that two-way communication back and forth. And then when the emergency is all over, we can, again, create work plans so that we put everything back in order. The custodian unlocks the doors, the parents are notified by the office staff, the teachers track where all the kids are. So we're really escalating that system to put us back into play. And then at the end of the day, we have audit-proof records, which show exactly who did what, when, where, and how. So we can identify where there's gaps, we can identify where there's misses, and we can work on our training so we can work to evolve and change. So it's really all about taking what is today our emergency preparedness procedures and putting a bow on that so that we can make sure that everybody is in the right place at the right time, doing the right things based on the specific emergency situation that's unfolding. But, as I said, emergency prevention is just kind of one of the areas that we play. So, if it's critical infrastructure and you want to do this around your security or maintenance or various compliance tasks, again, same solution out of the box can be created to support that. Or in food safety, we can create work plans around sanitization, temperature, quality control, ingredients. And then, as we talked about for seniors living, we can help protect the residents and staff by making safety care plans, emergency readiness procedures, all of those things. And again, this is the same solution. We're just really taking the customer's procedures and putting it in the system so that we can track better and manage execution. Our solution is really easy to deploy and get going. It's simply a matter of working with your clients, understand what operating procedures they're measuring and managing their team against. We simply import that data into the portal. We secure NFC tags at each location, and we're ready to go. As part of our integration with Mitel, of course, there'll be, the integration to the phone system and the SIP extension, which will be in addition to that. But ultimately, this is a solution you can get up and running with your customers in a matter of days versus weeks or months before they're seeing value. Also, I like to point out that, whether for our services, for the people who are responsible for services, this isn't an opportunity that just ends with the sale. This is, there's multiple opportunities to work with your customers to drive incremental revenue, whether it's consulting with them and working with them on defining their procedures, what do they need to do, to implementing those and setting up the systems, and of course, integrating with the rest of the technology stack that is being used within their system, whether that's your property management system, your security system, safety system, voice system, and the like. Our solution is priced by endpoint. So whether it's an NFC, an asset or location, an IoT sensor, or a soft phone, the pricing is based on endpoint, and we provide volume discounts. So as customers grow, as they expand, you don't need to go in and sell all Frontline users today. You can go in, start with a group, and continue to grow and evolve through a monthly or annual subscription. Our solution is built on Microsoft Azure. We offer a public cloud solution today. We're finalizing the private cloud capabilities. We are designed, as you can imagine, with Dave's background, with an open API, so data in, data out. And we're currently supported on iOS for a mobile application, and we're just finalizing the support for Android. And then, as I mentioned, as we started out from today's session, I've been working with Mitel channel partners and account managers for much of my career, and we're here to support you. So whether that's providing the team with the sales tools that you need to be successfully to get into accounts and to excel, or provide virtual training for either sales or customers, as well as client support, we're here to work with you every step of the way to make sure this is a simple and fast solution from an execution perspective. So with that, that's what I have prepared for everybody today. Again, next steps, we'd love to talk about potential beta customers, building partnerships. As I said, this is an opportunity for, as a Mitel channel partner in sales, to expand our reach into those frontline workers that represent 70 to 80% of the workforce, to stand out from the competition with a unique solution that you can offer your clients that other voice vendors cannot. And as I said, to really build the stickiness within your accounts by, working across the fabric of all departments and all frontline teams, really helping to further solidify Mitel's relationship with their clients and expand and channel partners and expand that reach into those front lines. So that is a quick run through. I know it was probably quite quick, but maybe we could open it up for some questions.
Becky?
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Danny.
No, Todd, you go ahead, my friend.
All right, so I got a question on how do we equip the partners for this? What's the process to get them on board and educated?
Well, so I will work with you directly so we can set up some time and do a project plan. So I have training material that I've created and a set of asset tools, and I'll work with you to roll it out on a per partner basis as requirements dictate.
Okay, and then the cell phone connectivity, if you will, that's a SIP client. So they're using a SIP extension off of the Mitel system.
That's what we're incorporating. So currently today, it's an iOS application, but as part of our participation in the program, we'll be embedding a soft phone, a SIP extension off the Mitel PBX as part of that. So that portion is what we're building now. The rest of the application is currently available and functioning. We're integrating the voice as we speak.
So like if, as an example, I'm putting it in a school, teachers, I don't have to put a phone in their room anymore, per se. I can use this tool instead.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we've actually been looking at, we've just sourced a device that is slightly larger than a phone, smaller than a tablet that you could also use as well in the rooms at a nominal fee that, again, by incorporating the extension on that. Yeah.
Right. And then similar for like a nurse, if you will, in a hospital, or a maintenance person in a hotel and or a hospital.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so it could reduce their costs a little bit as well. And then my next question is, does this work hand in glove with like Revolution, or is it a competitor sort of, or is it just completely separate because it's more about procedure after an event kicks in?
So I would say it could do either. So if your clients have Mitel Revolution in place and it's already set up to do the broadcast messaging, that can still happen. We can, and then we can take on post procedures. Now, as I said, so on Norwegian cruise lines, we've processed over 45 million voice and text transactions, broadcast messages to decked phones, as well as extensions and stuff. So we have that capability as well, from a large scalability perspective, but it's not, you can go depending on what makes sense for your existing clients.
Yeah, and then my last question is, so that clearly there's some sort of an admin portal for tracking and managing everything that somebody's doing.
Correct.
And as an example, if somebody's, let's say I'm working in retail and my job is to shut down the store at night and I've got a procedure to go through to do it, but I don't adhere to that procedure, is there some sort of an exception that's created so management can see, whoops, Todd forgot to whatever, turn off the lights?
Yeah, absolutely. So all work plans. So again, we work on the concept of work plans, work items, and tasks. So you can create notifications for everything from the start of a work plan to the finish, to a task failed, a task was skipped, incomplete. And you can set up those notifications so they're all automatically sent out via email or SMS. And as I said, as part of the accelerator program, we'll be incorporating that to extend, if you wanted to send somebody a text message to a desktop device, you could also do that there as well.
I guess I do have one last question. Brian Flandro, are our SEs knowledgeable about this, or is this something that we go back to Rebecca for customer and partner support?
So we're currently just getting started. So we would work with you directly, but of course, the goal is to build a partnership and relationship as part of this program. Yeah. And I'm here, I'm at your disposal as required to help, whether it be from supporting, presentations with clients, or the like.
Good stuff. Thanks, Rebecca.
No problem. No problem. Any other questions today?
Hey, Rebecca, I think what would be handy, and I don't know whether these guys and gals would say so, is that you have some specific use cases based on the verticals that you're in.
Yeah.
And you showed a couple is, what are the KPIs that you're capturing to allow to improve productivity, reduce risks, improve efficiency and responsiveness from a dashboard point of view? Is there anything like that available based on those use cases?
Yeah, absolutely. So for any, we have a real-time dashboard that shows all of the work plans that are being completed as they're being completed and shows the status of them. So you can see all of that today. I think that there's always room to improve the dashboards and even the reports, over time. So working with partners and clients themselves to grow and evolve those dashboards dependent upon, the various use cases that they're looking for. But yes, we have a real-time data stream that is displayed on the dashboard. We've also got historical reports. So I was working with Thermo Fisher. They're using us for fire code as an example. So when the regulator showed up to say, show me when we did our fire inspections, they simply pull up a report that shows exactly who did what when. Everything is date, time, and user stamped. And as I said, directly associated with the specific asset or location that is in question from an operating procedural perspective. So you know that there was zero way to fudge the system. So if you think of a lot of technology that you may have come across out in the field today is often reliant on digital forms. They've really taken what was that PDF inspection checklist and they've created a digital form. This allows this allows you to that data is unstructured. It's not been normalized. This gives you real-time visibility of all of that. Glenn?
Hey, Rebecca. Yeah, you had mentioned near the end of the presentation that there's incremental revenue, and you also talked about a 3-step process for getting Zendelity in place. Can you just help us understand who does what, since this may be a chance for channel partners to make incremental revenue? Is that when you said that, are you referring to them having some services that are supplied either as part of the upfront setup or with the account in an ongoing way?
Exactly. So there's I see that there's 3 options for services that can be explored on an account by account basis. So first of all is helping customers understand what their operating procedures were and really consulting with them on that portion. This is what, while one would think that they have all this under control, often I'm just working with a food manufacturer right now and he's like, okay, I got to go look at my procedures because they're all over the place. So actually working with them to help, refine your procedures so that they make sense. So this is a service that we could offer, or yourselves. I think it's a relatively easy service that you could grow an existing team to include. And then, of course, there's the actual implementation services. So, for example, we are starting a project with Queen's University right now. Queen's University, again, in this case, it's another fire code example. They've got 5,000 fire extinguishers. So this is an opportunity to put boots on the ground at the facilities and provide those services to set up all the assets and locations across the facility based on what their use cases is. And then thirdly, there's an opportunity around integrating the technology with the other components of your technology stack. So again, whether that's your property management system, whether that's your building automation system, whether that's your well, in this case, phone system, but there's an opportunity, or your analytics system. So, to add this data into other 4 systems. If your partners are playing in the data analytics side, this is a portion of data that is truly untapped today and not included in an organization's area. So this is an opportunity to include that and bring more value to them in that side as well.
You could actually have a city's fire authority use this for when they go out and inspect buildings. This is pretty cool.
100%. Well, I've always said, imagine that that's what we've talked about, right? So you have, instead of right now, for example, public health in Ottawa sends a inspector out to every public pool once a quarter and to do a random inspection to make sure that the pools are safe. Well, imagine we said, well, just here's a real-time view of every pool in Ottawa and exactly what they're doing so you can manage by exception. And, you know, in that case, would we work with you to do maybe some different tenanting and different, you know what I mean, stuff? But this is a way where you can take this core technology and almost apply it to anything. We're working with
You can use it at a deal checkpoint.
Yeah.
All kinds of use cases.
Oh, there's hundreds of use cases, and we're talking right now with the federal government of Canada with shared services. You know, they're looking at this for their underground cabling networking to manage all of those cables to make sure that they're being inspected and in compliance, right? So this is a technology that can be applied really across the board, and we're only limited by our own imagination. Peter?
Yeah, a couple things, Rebecca, just from perspective of somebody who participated in the accelerator program and participated in selecting Zendelity to be part of this. The example you just showed today with the emergency management in a educational environment, I would suggest that you definitely have to address the Revolution part of it, because there are elements of Revolution that we're using today with our clients to get confirmations from each individual classroom that they've gotten the message that they're in lockdown and so forth. So there are ways to use Revolution to do some of the things that you're
Okay.
showing. So you want to
Okay.
possibly consider a different use case for the demo next month, or address that overlap with Revolution.
Okay, fair enough. Good point.
The other question I have is relates to the pricing. I understand it's tied to the number of devices and so forth, but can you give us a sense for what the cost is and what's the partner's share of that? What's the revenue opportunity for me as a partner?
So, as an example, a really, really simple use case, like a pilot with 100 endpoints, we're looking at $2,500 as an annual fee, plus you would get 40% margin, so you would up that. So the idea as part of this accelerator program is that we engage with the partners directly and negotiate our own rates. So I think it's, we would come up with a standard that is in line with what you're currently getting as part of reselling technology, and then look at, with volume discounts and the like.
Mm-hmm. And
So
then
it's sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so, you could start with a very simple pilot at $2,500, but you could easily, when we get into, these examples with shared services and even the Queens is 28,000, right? So really, as you get larger and larger across campuses, you can significantly grow your revenue. I think the other nice thing about this solution is you can go in. So again, if we look at Queens as example, we're going in with fire extinguishers as their starting point. But they've got, at Carleton, they're using AEDs, naloxone kits, sprinkler systems, operating permits for golf carts, like all of their frontline employees. So the opportunities to continue to grow within your customers is, I think, a very important portion of the revenue potential. This isn't a sell it once and get out. You could really grow and evolve, work with accounts.
Yeah, my concern is it requires a level of I'll call it consultation and engagement with the customer that oftentimes our salespeople aren't going to want. Salespeople want something they can sell and move on. And I don't know, do you guys have the pro services people to assist with the deployment and to work with the customer on kind of that expansion of the use of the Zendelity platform? Because my salespeople won't want to stick around and be doing that, nor do I want them to.
Yeah, fair enough. So absolutely. So we have a business plan in place to grow the team and the resources as opportunities align, for sure.
Hey, Rebecca, have you thought about how you can complement ISO compliance with your product based on today 45,001, which is occupational health, and 9,001 and 14,001 for those customers that are in that space by using your product? How can that help them improve and drive the efficiencies, whether it be, health and safety or whatever? Have you thought about how you would complement that with your product?
Oh, absolutely. So that's a lot of what we're doing today. I think those are the simple, because those requirements from an ISO perspective are very clearly documented. So really, if you think about those requirements, it's all about somebody has to go out and physically do something across the facility. So we can support any of those requirements. And I think what's really important, Jerry, you brought up a good point in the beginning about, operational efficiency. If I look at a school board here in Canada, I was talking to the head custodian at one of our local schools, and she spends over an hour and a half a day of her time after she's completed doing all the work that would be required for ISO compliance and health and safety and the like. She's got to come back to her desk and spend over an hour and a half of her time entering that data into the building automation system. So, that's just one very easy example where we can bring value, because as we're collecting that data, it's the job's done. So they don't need to go back to their desk. They don't need to enter any more data. And I think then if you look at it from a management's perspective, what's happening today is I'm getting all this work from my frontline workers. I've got to go through it, understand where I've got gaps, where I've got issues, and then I've got to dispatch that. Whereas with our solution, we can create automatic alerts. So as soon as deficiencies are identified, we can immediately highlight and make sure the right people know about it so they can take immediate corrective action. Danny?
Yeah, Rebecca, I'm trying to think of, you were talking about verticals, and I focus a lot, so I'm being selfish here. Sorry to all the rest of the folks, but I'm thinking about healthcare and retail because that's something that I do a lot of here in
Yeah.
Canada with our partners. Um, I'd like to talk to you. I know you've been trying to nail me down, and I apologize for that. But next week, like next Wednesday or Thursday, if we could get to spend like an hour together, I want to pick your brain on how you see this fitting in because they're verticals that I'm really going to focus in on next year,
Yeah.
in 2026 and continue to grow it. So anything that sets us apart, right, or
Yeah.
gives me something different to talk about, right,
Yeah.
than boring old. Here's your call control and here's your voicemail. Like,
Yeah.
here's your DAC phones. But yeah, I'd like to pick your brain on those two verticals next week if.
Yeah, I would love to, Danny. And I think, one of the things for both of those verticals, if you look at the challenges that, thanks, Todd, for coming. I appreciate it. If you look at those verticals, I mean, especially since COVID, I mean, they're highly reliant on kind of the transient, less than loyal worker. There's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of management that goes into those people doing their jobs, right? So, this is an opportunity. We joke at Carleton University, they've got one individual. Her name is Nancy. She does the fire code day in, day out. That's all she does. Walk around the buildings, every day of the week, scanning fire extinguishers. Can you imagine if she leaves? How long do you think it's going to take them to find all of those fire extinguishers? And I think that when we look at the frontline industries today, there's a big shift that's happening, right? Where we've got our older generations, our Gen X's and above, they're retiring out. Well, think of the knowledge that they're taking with them as part of running and managing that facility. So if we can harness that, you have an opportunity to make the transition so much easier and so much faster for your clients, with a whole nice rolled up solution.
I like that idea because you know, it's always hard to keep us top of mind, right, with the partners because our partners obviously, they've been with the folks on this call have been with us for a long time, but they sell a lot of other products. So being able to bring something new to the table for them, I like that idea. So
Cool. Yeah, for sure, Danny. I would love to chat next week and explore the opportunities. I think, as I said, I think there's endless opportunities in front of us. It's really finding about, where's the low hanging fruit,
yeah,
and attacking it, right? And I think that this is something that you could create as a super repeatable process too, right? So once we've set it up once, you could do it at every store, like quick, right? Versus, for the standard stuff, especially to Jerry's point, that the stuff that's ISO compliant required, it's defined, right? So obviously it depends on your facility and what your facility looks like and your amenities and the like, but your, you know, foundational kind of requirements. So this is a very much a rinse and repeat opportunity that you could actively go into to solve some real challenges that clients are faced with today from a people perspective.
Okay, I'll send you a couple of times next Wednesday, Thursday, and see if we can get together. And yeah, I'd love to then go back to our partners and talk about those
Yeah.
specific verticals here in Canada. Okay, thanks.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions that I can address today? I think if that's it, I'm going to thank everybody for your time today. I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, I welcome any and all feedback you have, whether it's on the pitch. You know, Peter, you bringing up the right Mitel revolution. I, you know, appreciate that point taken. You know, and I would extend that to everybody. If you think there's gotchas, if you think that there's ways that we can improve, I mean, that's the name. And you know, we're excited to work with the Mitel community, you know, more as we're moving forward and really see where we can take this. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I will send out a recording. Please feel free to share it with anybody who you think might be interested, and we'll chat soon. Thank you.
Bye, Rebecca.
Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you.